Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this month's webinar entitled Audience Data's Impact on Print Revenue. Today we're going to cover this very interesting topic, which, not surprisingly, has generated the largest group of registrants that we've had in 2 years of doing these webinars. So we're incredibly excited to share this topic with you guys today. As a reminder, use the GoToMeeting note box for questions that hopefully we can get to along the way, as well as afterwards a notification will be sent to you to download a recording of this if you want to pass it along to someone who could not attend today, as well as some additional handouts that we may make available to you. Again, today we're talking about audience data's impact on print revenue. My name is Brett Kierstead. I'm Vice President of Sales for Knowledge Marketing. And for those of you who are new to knowledge marketing, we are in information services and data management technology for the publishing industry. We focus on providing technologies and services aimed at helping our clients maximize the use of data in terms of how they drive revenue and new initiatives within their business. We come from a position where we have lots of clients that are very innovative and creative and thoughtful and share ideas and successes and challenges with us, many of which you see on the screen right now. And it's this insight and perspective that we try to bring you every month, ideas and things to help move this industry forward. Just as a disclaimer, in rehearsing, I think we're going to probably go about 10-15 minutes over today, just as a expectation setting. So I don't want to, if I go late, certainly if you need to drop off, I understand it, but I want to make sure we're thorough and complete because there's such a big interest in this topic. So I will, as a disclaimer, we might run to about 10-15 minutes over. So here's the agenda for today. Print is not dead, Brett, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. We'll talk a little bit about print's place in advertising and content moving forward, as well as the evolution of data and technology. And those are really the primer to set up how people are using data to overcome the big objections that we're seeing, from how do we increase sales to how can we protect and grow our print readers and how can create new revenue sources in print. And lastly, I'll give you a little bit of ideas on how to have a mindset for success, really the cool and positive ideas that our customers and the people out there are having towards this really, really critical subject about of print. So first of all, let's get right into it. Print is not dead. I've used this before, the famous quote from Mark Twain that says, "The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." And really, people have been trying to kill off print for a long time, and I found myself, like many of you, potentially buying into the hype. A few months ago, I went down and visited one of our great clients, Brief Media, down in Tulsa. And I was presenting before an all-company meeting, and they asked me to talk about the state of the industry. And I said, well, as you all know, print is dead. And they stopped me right in my tracks. And the CEO, Beth Green, said to me, Brett, print is not dead, Brett. In fact, we had our best quarter ever. And it got me thinking, have I, like a lot of you and many others, bought into the headlines about print being dead and adopting it as a mantra, but yet not really thinking about, one, whether it's true, or two, whether we can do anything about it? And so that led us to today's webinar, which is really to tell you categorically that print is definitely not dead, but it absolutely has changed. And when we talk about that, about change, it really comes in a lot of areas. From a business perspective, a recent survey was done by Folio Mag about how do executives see their current revenue mix as it relates to print versus other products. And just asked in a survey manner, you can see what the statistics are on the left-hand side, that print plays a dominant role. But if you ask people 5 years from now what they think it's going to be, you can see it's changed its mix. Okay, so clearly it's changing in its role. However, if you look at statistics and you look at data, even projecting it out forward, which of course is just purely a projection, But even if you look at this and say print is going to remain flat for years to come, even though the overall pie, in this case $15 billion, may not be expanding, it doesn't mean that your piece can't get bigger. And so yes, it's understanding it may be leveling off or even declining slightly at a macro level, but you operate at an individual level. And I think there's opportunities for you to grow your success. So what's working? There's 4 concepts that are working out there from a print perspective. Number 1 is scarcity versus ubiquitousness. What scarcity means is that it's content that is unique and hard to find versus ubiquitous, which is content that's everywhere and abundant. If you can produce scarce content in whatever format it would be it print or otherwise, you have an opportunity for success. The second thing is a spin-off versus original. A lot of the new print products that are coming out are offshoots of digital products or other products, not things and other audiences, not things completely created from whole cloth. The third thing that's working is researched content versus opinions. Opinions are great delivery on the web, but incredibly researched content, like a lot of you produce, is best delivered in long form in print. And lastly, special interest publications versus general interest publications are doing very well. People are willing to continue to consume print and advertise and be related to it along a very narrow and special interest. And if you look at the last NPA PIB study, they showed just some increases in revenue that are being received, in this case, across some special interest publications in some very unique vertical markets. So again, the main point of this is we don't need to buy into the doom and gloom. And as I conclude this section, simply that even Lazarus has risen. You know, in 2002, everybody proclaimed the death of Newsweek, the headline, no longer in print, rest in peace. But funny, here we are in 2014, and quietly or not so quietly, print is born again. So again, the mindset that we want you to have, and the thing that I believe very firmly, is that there is still significant opportunity in this area. But it's definitely changing, and let's talk about that. So print's role in content and advertising. So it is still important to remember, as a mindset shift, is that print is not the end, but rather a means to the end. Our goal is to, as publishers, is to create content that is interesting to the reader, and then have advertisers connect with that reader through our content. Okay? Print is just an example, or one channel that we have that allows us to connect advertisers to readers and to provide readers with valued content. Okay? But anytime you're thinking about selling or publishing or producing content, it's very important, just like any strategy, is to understand your weaknesses first. In this case, print versus digital. Let's just use them as a simple example. You know, print has its weaknesses. Expensive to produce. We can't always tell if people read it. We're inferring what people were interested in. It may be general to a vertical market, but it's not targeted to an individual. The response time for when we produce it to when we get feedback is slow. And we cannot forget that we're dependent on the post office, right? Digital has the opposite as its strengths. It's lower cost, it's easier to track engagement, it's easy to record interest, we can target, we can get instant feedback, and we can have faster lead conversions. So it's important to understand the weaknesses, but I will tell you that success in print selling or print messaging comes from leading with your strengths. I think a lot of us have forgotten what makes print so great as a mechanism both for readership and advertising. So if you think about the strength side of it, the content within print is generally seen as more serious, it's more researched, it's more credible, and it's more informed. Also, readers of print are generally categorized as having better retention of information. You know, print is a great area for long forms of content that takes time for ideas to build themselves. Also, remember, print offers you a greater exchange of data. Think about how much information people are willing to offer up to join a webinar. But yet, think about how much information they're willing to offer you to get your print magazine. Okay, so it's a great exchange of value in the market. And that should tell you right there, people see it as valuable. The reader is also generally more invested. And lastly, print has the strength of generally having multiple reading sessions. I can read it, I can put it down, I can pick it up later. It's easy for me to find. I can read it off hours. It's much more stimulating to me and easier for me to read in multiple sessions. Digital has a lot of the weaknesses against that. And so a lot of people come in and apologize about print and its weaknesses as opposed to leading with the strengths that it brings to the reader and to the market. So I think what we should be focusing on is combining the advantages of both. You know, the advantages of print with the advantages of digital, and we'll talk about how to do that. The content being serious, we want retention of our information, we want an exchange of data, we want engaged readers, but we want better cost margins, we want to understand and track engagement, we want to be more precise in our targeting, and we want quick feedback and lead conversion. I mean, this is the world that we want to bring to the table. And don't forget, again, print has a power of retention of information. If you're in B2B or you're in special interest and the type of content that you create requires thoughtfulness, print has the greater power of retention of information. You know, this little study here about Scientific American, all these people are doing research about comprehension and readership and knowledge of print versus digital. And I think this is a strength for you when you lead with your advertiser or you lead with the reader on why they need to be in this channel is the importance of retention. I always got serious people read print. Now, this is a study, a New York Times article this week linked to, talking about studies of how people read offline versus online and their ability to comprehend, concentrate, absorb, recall. A lot of your clients have complex subjects and difficult products, and print is a great mechanism for them to be associated for people to understand and comprehend what exactly it is that they're offering. Data and technology are helping too. The old days of data sources look like this. You know, they look like business reply cards, BPA statements, subscription forms online. That was our mechanism for collecting data. But the beautiful thing about the way the world's evolved for you and why data is so important and so helpful is you have so many more collection mechanisms. As you've grown in your channels, so has the ability for you to get data. Not just demographic data, but behaviors and interests and readership and interaction and all these various different mediums have become available to you, even in traditional B2B. There's a new language emerging on data that you should be aware of and you should be using even when you talk about print. You know, the old language of refresh and batch and audit, survey, demographics, you know, siloed data, list rentals, you know, bingo cards, reader response. These are a dying language in our industry, but they're being replaced by a new language of real-time information and behavioral data and responsive information, dynamic content, progressive registration, big data. You know, there's a language emerging, and we're in the print world. I think we're somehow conceding that it's not applicable to print when we really should be, because a lot of the same successes and data analysis that goes on in the digital and online world is available to you done properly. So think of it this way. You know, you've got your demographic data, the legacy of information that you've collected on an individual's profile, and now we have access to behaviors and context and interests and what people do, and combined together you've got one of the most powerful assets in industry, and that is this unified database of an individual's behaviors and interests and profile across a great many channels. You know, LinkedIn gets all the credit for being this incredible database, but they touch people in a very narrow touch point. You guys touch people across a whole bunch of areas, across their print, their online, their offline, their events, their webinar, their websites, their email. You have an unbelievable asset at your disposal to help not only drive your overall business, but even specifically towards print. Along the way, your friends in the printer business have done their part in upgrading their technology. You know, the print technologies that are emerging out there are really about personalization, you know, and interactivity. There's custom advertorial or ways to insert and do special editions. You know, we have clients right now that are doing special issues, covers, inserts, sometimes 20 different versions in a single issue, subsetting out and segmenting their data into very specified groups and including content. You know, printers have caught up. They have that ability. You have the data. They have the technology, and it's an opportunity for us to make print more dynamic. Also, technology has emerged where print is interacting with mobile and with web. So the printers have done their part to help set you up so that you could take advantage of your data and you could take advantage of technology and produce a very dynamic asset. Okay? And the last idea for you to think about is this. You know, we've lived in a world where we call people qualified. And print has really thought of itself as qualification. I'm audited, they've met a profile, but what that does is it leaves you out of the conversation about engagement. Engagement in an online world is analogous to engagement in a print world where we have behaviors where people do things and context where we see where people are interested. So qualified as a subscriber is an interesting point, but it's a legacy. Engaged is what advertisers want today, and print can use data to help make the case of why the people within print are engaged in content and great people for advertisers to access. Okay? So let's get to the point of the issue, specifically about print revenue. There's this section I want to give you guys, as we try to do on these webinars, things to take back and think about. You know, we have representative stories from our clients, and we have different ideas that we hope are thought-provoking. We hope if you rewatch this or download the presentation, you can see the ideas and merge and apply them to yourself. But there's three paradigms that I think have really come about in this industry, specifically around data. The first one was people thought that print subscriptions yielded data. We did this, we collected this information, and we sold through list brokers the print subscriber information. The new paradigm flips that over, in that data is yielding print subscriptions. We're collecting a lot of information on a lot of your folks, whether they behave at events and online and all of these places. And that data is a great source to help you drive up your print subscriptions. So again, paradigm old, print yields data, new data yields print. The second paradigm is create a product, find an audience. So we're going to come up with the latest and greatest magazine, and then we're going to go out and try and find people for our audience, or excuse me, for our product. And really what data affords you is the opposite. Many of you who are publishers who have diverse products and channels, you have audiences already out there. So use your data to find your audience, then from that create a product. Okay? Old paradigm, create the product, find an audience. New paradigm, find an audience, create a product. And lastly, print leads to digital. We're going to create a print magazine and we're going to create a digital edition and website. What's happening now, though, is people are saying, let's use digital to lead to print. Again, the paradigm shifting it upside down, that digital is just an offshoot of print. There's no reason that print potentially can't be an offshoot of digital, and we're going to show you some examples of that later. So I think these three paradigms, hopefully you can keep them close to the vest and think, how do we think this way differently about how we create, monetize, and sell our print products. okay? So let's talk about making money. So there's really lots of ways that you make money from print, and we want to be open-minded and thoughtful about this because, yes, ads are the most clear thing, but there's a lot of other things. There's, for those of you that have paid subscribers, there's paid. You know, we can't forget that some people are paying for special content. There are ads in magazines. You can make money from special inserts or cover wraps. You make money from licensing your data or renting your lists associated with it. Maybe article reprints and certain content that may be old, or magazine reprints. You still get leads from within print. You may create special publications. So a brand might contract with you to do a special publication for their clients or for a different market and pay you for that. And you also make money by increasing your frequency. So if I do 6 issues versus 12, by my volume, if I have 50,000 subscribers or 100,000, or by my rates, if I charge $1 and I charge $1.20. So we make money in a lot of different ways, and you got to keep them all in mind when you attribute how data can help you in these areas. It can lead to products and revenues in various different areas. Okay, so let's take 3 examples here. Okay, the first one is increased sales. Then we'll talk about how to protect and grow readers. And then we'll talk about creating new print revenue sources. So we talked to a lot of different publishers and publishing salespeople out there, and we figured we would discuss this in terms of objections, right? The most common objection that a lot of people get is, maybe from an advertiser, is, look, Mr. or Miss Salesperson, why shouldn't I just abandon my print ads and leverage your digital and live events only? Right? I've heard print is dead. I heard there's nothing going on there. I'm just going to go use your digital stuff, which is great, but it's still missing out. And so your answer needs to be, because you're missing a lucrative channel that is interested in your content, consumes it via print, and meets your desired profile. So if you tell me I need to get out of print, I would strongly object to that. Okay? And here's why. So I'm going to show you an example of the way people are tackling this issue head on. This is an excerpt from a strategic selling process that is used by some publishing salespeople in terms of how they drive an advertiser or exhibitor or whatever they might be to consider and use print. First of all, the first and foremost is starting with the audience profile, not the products. Okay, so for example, one of our clients will sit down with an advertiser, and many of you may already do this, is to say, you know, you want to reach whom? What are the characteristics of them? What are the demographics that they have? What level of engagement is important to you? What topics of interest are relevant to you? So they're trying to build for their client an ideal profile. These are the kinds of people that you want to get to based on a set of criteria. Some of it is online, some of it is offline, some of it is engagement, but none of it is product. Okay? The second thing that the end will say is, okay, now that we know that you want to reach those people, what's the objective of the program? Is it branding? Is it leads? Are you doing education? What are you trying to get out of this campaign towards those desired people? The third thing then will say, what's your horizon? Do you need something today? Are you looking for it to last a while? Is it short-term, long-term? Then they'll ask about content. You know, is your product that you want to advertise, or your idea or your brand, what are the topics that are related to it? Is it a pharmaceutical product that you want to pair up with people interested in pharmaceutical litigation or in generic health care? So the topic companion is critical, as well as determining the seriousness of the topic and its impact. If I have a whimsical topic that is going to come and go, print may not be the best place for it. But if I have a research product, maybe some new pharmaceutical product that I want to affiliate with really smart content and research that has depth to it, print will probably be a great place for that. Then you go back, once you have all that, and then go and do research. This is an area where a lot of salespeople and a lot of clients, or excuse me, publishers, I believe, are falling short. They're not doing their research. When they come back with interest, they're falling back on product sales. There's so much data available to you about your audience across all channels that the successful people are doing it and getting great results, and I'll show you why. Everything from, yes, your print data, but what about topics and relationships between different products? All of these things are very valuable assets to you. And then they're coming back only after that research cycle to present a complete proposal that's not only highlighting print's impact, but its overall relevance and importance as an audience. I'll give you an illustration here. Rhonda Hughes, if you guys know her from Advanced Star, we've talked about them before because they do great work on data. They've created this database, a representation of their data that highlights their audience members across all of their products and including print. And so they present not products but audiences, and they link to and visually share that there's publications, but they're representing the whole thing as a group of brands that they can have people engage them on the various content. So when they go in and it's time, they'll do all of this research. They'll look at the database. They'll look at people that consume certain products that are in a certain magazine perhaps, that are interested in certain topics, and they'll do comparisons. They'll look at titles across various different uses of products. They'll look at similar titles in non-print products. They'll look at matching that ideal profile that that customer has. They'll match up the topics of interest with topics that they have specifically that they've been tracking both online and in various different formats for individuals, and then they'll come back with a recommendation. So their presentation back to that advertiser may go something like this. Look, we took your ideal customer profile, the type of information that you're looking for, and the way that you, the audience that you're targeting. And here's what we found. There's 96,000 people that meet your desired profile. 47,000 of those people are reading print only, and they read between 1 and 3 different titles. 21,000 are digital only, and that means they're only consuming content in an e-world, e-products websites. A small group only attend our events. 9,000 have print plus, 15,000 are all digital. You get the picture. And so they're giving a more robust profile of how people engage their content across channels. Then they'll go back and talk more specifically, in this case, about the 47,000 that read print only and how robust their profile is, and make it clear that if you're neglecting print, you're missing a significant portion of the desired audience that they're looking to sell to. Okay, so if you think about the way we cascaded that process, we went through audience, topics of association, type of messaging, and we came at a position where now we're ready to explain to them why and how that 47,000 people in print is so critical for them to have visibility into. The campaign, the product recommendations, the ads will flow from this. We just wanted to show you how you get to a point where you're, quote, promoting the power of print as a channel. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is for the audience development editorial people in the call, and that is thinking about why should, readers out there, one of your loyal readers, and they say to themselves, why should I just stop receiving my print magazine and just read online? Right, I don't need it anymore. I look at your websites. I'm good with that. Well, the answer has to be because I believe, and what we hear is there's content in the magazine that you cannot get anywhere else, and you need to read it in that format in order to understand it. And what again, if you think about what that's saying is, look, reader, if you go away from print, you're missing out on a whole lot. You're missing out on special content. You're missing out on articles that are written and presented in a way that's understandable. You're interested in sophisticated topics, retention, comprehension, awareness, ability to read it multiple times is indigenous to print. If you abandon that as a channel, you're losing high value of the content that we have available. Okay? So think of it this way. I think we as marketers and as publishers and audience development, I think we've fallen into a little bit of a lull in that either we're, one, conceding print as leaving, or we've forgotten that it's our responsibility as publishers and marketers to defend and promote print. I was talking before, I think I've been to 20 different industry events from all the industry associations, and I've hardly heard one of them making a strong defense of print. And it's too bad because you guys need help. And so right now it's your obligation as a company to defend to your audience why print is so valuable. So again, your universe needs a reminder why print is uniquely valuable. Number two, it's a constant education and recruitment cycle, not just to meet audit goals. I wonder how many companies neglect their print except when it comes time to meet their audit. You know, you're never going to keep that thing going. You're never going to grow it if all you're doing is racing to replace. Again, you campaign for print to both print and non-print. You know, don't assume that people that aren't consumed with print or even maybe left it in the past aren't interested in coming back. Maybe they just forgot why, or maybe you just haven't messaged to them the right way. A lot of people are thinking of print subscription as an e-commerce upsell, kind of the if you like this, you'll love that mindset of Amazon. And lastly, linking online behavior to offline interest. Okay, so let's say that give you a perfect example, and again, technology supports this very well. Let's say that you know in your database that I am a subscriber. You know my subscriber status at least. You understand demographic information that I've given to you, and because you've tracked my readers and my e-reading and what I've read in emails and on websites, you know I'm interested in utilities. So let's say I come out to your website today, and this is all technology, right, that's now available to publishers, and I'm reading this article on this subject about utility. Well, Drupal or WordPress or a lot of the content management systems today have the ability to look at my information. And if I look at my information and I see Brett is currently, let's say I'm subscribed or not subscribed, there's no reason that you cannot say at that point in time, hey, there was a great article in the June issue about the cost of utilities. Did you read it or would you like a copy? You know, pop-ups and in-ad presentations, everybody loves it as a way of popping up subscribe now. But what they're not doing is tying back data and information that you already know about me as a promotional item for that publication. So right now, if I'm interested in utility questions, why wouldn't it just say, hey, there was a great article last month. Did you read it? We sent you the magazine, or we wrote an article, you're not a subscriber, would you like to receive it? So guys, think about the Amazon world of cross-sell and the Amazon world of upsell of relating content back to me to my status, okay? Similarly, there's lots of research. You can look at comparing people that are active on your website versus those that are subscribed. You can compare people that are interested in topics that are relevant to a particular publication and either emailing them or physically mailing them offline saying, hey, I noticed you love buildings. Did you know that our magazine had 14 articles about buildings that were well researched? You know, that constant marketing and communications based on data is a very important and key strategy to driving up print subscribers as well as retention. And lastly, there's more technologies. We've been talking with a company called Docalytics, if you haven't seen them, but basically their interesting idea is to take the same thing that we all thought digital editions was going to be, which is this great repository of data on opens and clicks, and porting that idea over into the world of PDFs. There's a lot of studies, and I think that people read PDFs, whether it's an article reprint or a white paper or some type of research content, in a similar manner to how they might read a print article. Well, technologies like Docalytics are tagged into PDF readers that allow you to capture PDF reader engagement consistent with how you capture or wanted to capture digital edition readership. So what happens is that you make inferences, editors make inferences, people make inferences from how did I read similar PDF content, whether it was an exact article reprint or whether it was some related content, and I attribute that same type of information into the offline world. Again, we're still not necessarily saying that, well, I got my magazine, I have no idea if they read it. I mean, you can't sneak into their homes and see if they read it. But data through attribution will tell you, look, they read those similar articles, they're interested in content this way, they like these pages in the PDF world just as if you can in your digital edition world. So there's lots of new technologies out there that help you track reader interest and how they consume your research content, even on an article basis. The last topic here is new revenue sources. So The always question that a lot of executives get, or publishers or editors or people that are responsible for the magazine, is why should I keep printing my current magazine, let alone start a new one? And the reason is because if it's done right, it is a profitable channel, and it complements and significantly expands your audience demographic profile. And if you think, well, God, are people really starting magazines anymore? Here's an interesting article. This was last fall from the Wall Street Journal, and it said, "A new era for print media. Startup magazines are the latest status symbols." And the quote that was in there said, it's either mad or genius to start a print publication in 2013. I think it's genius if it's done right. And I'll give you some examples of people that are doing what we said before, which is start with digital, then think print. So allrecipes.com, it's a great resource, great website, used it for years, okay? And they've had great success. And lo and behold, this year or late last year, all of a sudden you get All Recipes magazine. So here's an example of a very successful digital property with people that subscribe to and print and do all that, that reversed and created and market to All Recipes magazine. On the political side, Politico, they obviously get their peaks and valleys come politics time, and Politico's a quoted source for various different political issues. And lo and behold, what did they launch? Politico the magazine, under the title of the Friday cover. So when we talk about it, you got to remember that their data and the insight and the information about what people were interested in, their topics, and the specific things that they were interested in their digital world turned around and led to print. So that digital data, all that consumption that's going on, is causing the reverse of what we said before, which is this opportunity to launch, companion print titles aimed at and marketed to a very specific group of digital people in a very specified and intelligent manner. The last thing that I want to share with you guys is what we call a mindset for success. And we talked to a lot of publishers and a lot of salespeople, and I realized that I fell victim to this idea as well, that print was dead and we just kick it to the curb. And I think that the successful people that are out there really look at it differently. So here's 10 things, and we have a handout of these that you can download if you're interested, and maybe pin it up at your desk along with your infographics and all the other fun stuff we've given you over the past couple of years. But the first one is that a lot of many ideas and movements come from self-fulfilling prophecy. And the folks at Brief Media are like, print is not dead, we had the best quarter ever, is part of what's making them a success. They believe in the channel, they promote the channel, they're positive about it, and that comes across to their advertisers and to their readers as it is a destination source. If you think it's going to suck, it's going to suck. If you think it's going to fail, it's going to fail. But if you lead with your strengths and understand your weaknesses, you're going to be a success. Number 2, the headlines that you read out there are sensational. Print is dead. But you guys know better. And you have the mechanisms and the data and the tools and the resources and the successes to prove otherwise. Number 3, the best defense is a good offense. I wouldn't wait for someone to explain to me why they shouldn't be in print. I would be in there offensively on the offense, talking about why it's such a good place to be, why it's a compliment, why data can drive it, and how the right audience for the content and message that your advertiser has, why it's so important for them to be there. Number 4, as a reminder, your clients, especially in B2B, and you guys are in some tough industries that have really sophisticated topics, from agriculture to pharmaceutical to a whole bunch of issues, to engineering, to buildings and technology. They have serious products that cost a lot of money and serious ideas, and they need serious readers and serious engagement. Print is the best case for that. All the research says it, and you've got the best asset for them available. Number 5 to remember, we live in a spontaneous, instantaneous world. If you walk in thinking, Everything requires all the leads, all the actions, everything to happen right now. You're setting yourself up for failure. That's not what print is for. Print, as we've talked about all along, has a great purpose for your clients and readers. And you have to associate. If someone says, all I want is a lead campaign and I need leads tomorrow, don't go in and lead with print. However, the majority of ad marketers and brands want the prestige and sustainability of what print brings to you, and you need to tie that ability for you to produce in that channel to their interests. Number 6, remember, you are a research company. You have researched information and informed insights. Print is a show-off for you to show that strength. 7, there's no one-size-fits-all in today's advertising mix. If you're a print ad salesperson, I mean, I understand sometimes a company structure there in a way that's the only asset that you have to sell, and I imagine that would be difficult, but it doesn't mean that data can't still help you. You can still use data from other channels collected in other manners, even if it's solely to promote the way that you want people placed within your magazine. And don't forget, it's more than just print ads. We talked about all those other ideas on how you can generate revenue. 8. Do you ever read now how brands want to become publishers and content marketing is king? Well, your clients are looking to get into the content marketing business, and to this point they've used social media, but they're also sniffing around how they can be distributors of first content. Guess who is the best ones to create that? Of course, that's you. So as your clients are trying to reach the end buyer through research content, you should be the delivery mechanism. You should be the producer. You should be the one helping to facilitate that. Even though the marketing and advertising may not be through your magazine, as one of our CEO customers said, I'm better off joining them than fighting them. 9, print is no longer the be-all, end-all of a marketing campaign, and that's okay. It takes strategy. You have to be thoughtful. I showed you an example before. We used that Advanced Star example where print can play an integral part of an overall campaign, but it's critical for them to be in there. It's noticeably absent, especially when someone is trying to reach a very specified, high-value, researched and informed audience. And lastly, remember, big data is growing exponentially for all aspects of your audience. Print people, online people, events people, everybody is looking at data. Data is a powerful tool. Successful salespeople that are out there in the world in all industries, including your competitors, are talking about data and information. The product is a subsidiary of that. The product is an offshoot. The best recommendations for what you sell them comes from your understanding of their target market and your ability through your data to get to that audience. So hopefully we'll send this along to you guys. You can keep it up as a strategy or thought, and really that's what we wanted to do today, is really hopefully create for you a spirited defense for print, along with some tactics and techniques on how you can leverage it. There was a couple of quick questions that I'll get to, and one of them came from Nikki. She mentioned that says there's serious credibility issues for a magazine that partners their content too closely with advertising. How do you broach that? And I think that's a great question, and I think they always call it the separation of church and state. Clearly, if your written content loses objectivity, or if you're clearly writing things that are non-distinguishable from advertisements, but yet you're promoting it as research content, you're asking for trouble. But editors today are becoming much, much more sophisticated. You know, they're taking messaging and they're promoting that messaging or putting that messaging interwoven with content. Also, you're placing ads, and many people are placing ads, obviously, on the adjoining pages or next to specific content that they want it to be related to. Or in some cases, you're ghostwriting based on your own research content for a brand. And maybe that brand is publishing that content through a different channel, or they're not publishing it through you. You know, you really, to your point, Nikki, you want to be distinct, you want to be segmented, but yet your advertiser wants access to your content and they want association with your specific They want association with your specific content. So again, we're running over on time. I promised you guys 45 minutes, so I'm going to stick to it. There's a couple other questions. I will answer them online. But again, thank you guys so much. If you want that 10 quick tips, when you get a follow-up, you can request it, and we'll send you a little copy for you to print up over your desk so you can have something to think about and get excited about why print is still such an important part of our industry and why data plays such a critical part in helping advance that. You can always get engaged with us too, or plug for our wonderful marketing department. We're out there on social and in different areas, continuing the content, past webinars, downloads, white papers, blog posts, etc. Thanks again. We'll see you all next month, and best of luck to everyone. Take care.